Good morning, everyone, and welcome to 1 Million Cups. Let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about what 1 Million Cups is for anyone who's watching today or participating that is not familiar with that. All right, can you all see that? Can you all see that and hear me okay?
It says Bill Wong has started sharing his screen.
Oh, okay. It's supposed to let me share mine. Go ahead, Bill, can you stop sharing for a second? All right. Do you guys see that now?
Yeah, it shows you're trying to share your screen. Yeah, you started. Okay.
All right, perfect. All right, so we are 1 Million Cups, and we are caffeinating entrepreneurs nationwide every Wednesday. So the Kaufman Foundation that started 1 Million Cups works with communities in leadership and entrepreneurship to increase opportunities to allow all people to learn, to take risks, and to own their success. And the mission of 1 Million Cups is to lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connection for all types of new and aspiring entrepreneurs throughout the United States. And we work toward this mission through creating a consistent educational experience for each 1 Million Cups presenter nationwide, while also highlighting the uniqueness and value proposition in each local startup community. These are a few of our locations. Many of these locations have gone virtual. Some are hybrid now. So if you are watching from another state, definitely see about whether or not there is a 1 Million Cups in your community or how you can start your own. So these are presentations, not pitches, right? You're not pitching to investors. This is a presentation, a good place to practice presenting your business. And we want to foster authentic connections, not networking. And this is run for the community, by the community, and we are radically and intentionally inclusive. So this meeting is held, go ahead.
Sorry, LeBeau, we're still seeing a black screen.
Can you still hear me though?
Yeah, we can hear you okay.
Oh,
I just want you to know,
so
sorry.
Weird. Let me reshare. Thank you for stopping me. I want to make sure you guys see that. Okay. Should be letting me share.
Okay,
you can see that?
We see it.
All
now
right,
we
perfect.
do. Yeah, okay.
Sorry about that, guys.
Thank you.
So many technical issues this morning. So this meeting is held every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's usually held at 9 a.m. wherever you are. So that's the typical time it starts. Usually we have 2 presenters that will give a 6-minute presentation and then 20 minutes Q&A. Now, sometimes that might change depending on the scenario. Sometimes we might have someone giving an educational talk, and so the format is slightly different. Most of the presenters who present are going to be in a business that is 5 years old or younger, and they come to this platform to learn, like to get feedback, suggestions, recommendations, etc. And we always finish the presentation by asking them, what can we as a 1 Million Cups community do for you? Because the purpose of this meeting is to help small business owners thrive and give them a sense of community so that they know where to run to in case they run into any types of trouble. A lot of 1 Million Cups are very plugged into small business resources. So this is the kind of like the hub to come to find resources if you're not familiar with what is available to you as a new entrepreneur. If you want to apply to present, you can go to 1millioncups.com /present. And you can also go to 1millioncups.com /FW to present to our 1 Million Cups. We do have an app that we use when we're in person. And I wanted to ask you all, if you don't mind, dropping an answer to this question. I asked this question to our group a couple of days ago. Do you feel like you would be ready to attend 1 Million Cups in person again? Put it in chat. Or would you prefer a hybrid? Or would you just prefer to stay virtual for right now? there are a lot of 1 million cups that are going hybrid. And so whenever we do decide to go back in person, usually we'll go to the Business Assistance Center located in downtown Fort Worth. Or we might go to City Central, which is also located in downtown Fort Worth as well. Basically co-working places. So if you are interested in that, let us know, because we're trying to get a general consensus going. All right, so that's pretty much in a nutshell what 1 Million Cups is about. Today we have Bill Wong, who is one of our regulars, going to present. And I'm going to turn it over to him. Well, before we go there, I just want to say, my name is LeBeau Colbert. I'm a marketer of LeBeau LLC here at the DFW. And then we have Angela Burns, who's also an excellent marketer. So you have two marketers here. So if anybody has any marketing questions, you can also put those in the chat box. And then we have Amy Furr, who's also an organizer. And Amy, you're in North Carolina, right?
Yes, I'm outside of Charlotte.
That's right. And then we have Mohammed. He's in Arlington. And so if you have any questions about 1 Million Cups, you can reach out to any one of us. All right, so without further ado, go ahead, Bill, and share your.
Okay, I'm going to try to start sharing, and while it's loading, I'm going to tell you, I am totally, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, let me see. I'll probably just have to.
So while she's doing that, I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I was in elementary school, I remember I had a big red truck and I got detention because I wouldn't share. So I'm definitely sharing challenged. And obviously, and all the technical issues that happened this morning is on me. It is not LeBeau, it is me. So that I'm going to start it that way. So should I try?
You should be able to hear now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So here we go. I hope you guys are ready for a ride. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
All right, I'm about to present. Okay. Okay, so you can see my screen and can hear me because all I see is my screen. Okay. My name is Bill Wong. I'm the founder of CEENIC. CEENIC is an Amazon review for people, but in real time. And so what we're going to talk about, I want you guys to remember these three things: be heard, be seen, and better decisions. And I'm going to give you guys a quiz later on. So be heard, be seen, and better decisions. And I think last time I gave out some money, but maybe not have gotten to you because LeBeau, okay. So what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to tell you a quick story, of which I already told you a story, an insight, the need, and the solution. So I'm going to tell you 4 things today, and I have less than 6 minutes. Okay. First of all, I know many of you know that I've been mentoring a young Muslim woman, and probably more than a year ago, she had mentioned to me that she felt invisible at times, where she would go to in middle school, that she, even though she's Muslim and she wears a hijab, that some people said, why are Muslims terrorists and murderers, right in front of her? Or she goes to a meet and greet and people would step right in front of her while she's trying to talk to the main speaker. And that destroyed me. That made me feel terrible. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is make her feel visible, give her the confidence so that she can be the true person that she needs to be. And that's in some ways one of my missions. And probably about 5 or 6 months ago, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, a businessman, and I was telling him about CEENIC. And right in the middle, as I was explaining what it was, he said to me, you know what you're doing, don't you? And I go, no, I'm talking about my business. He goes, what you're trying to do with CEENIC is exactly what you're trying to do with your mentee. You're trying to make her visible. You're trying to give her a voice, and you're trying to make her more than she is. So that's basically what CEENIC is. I'm trying to help people become visible, give them a voice so that they can be seen. So what CEENIC is in general is it's an app, it's a community, and a platform. So I'm using technology to try to build a community and try to give people a platform so they can express themselves. So as I was saying before, that I have some insights, and I'm going to go through those real quickly. Okay, our first insight is, or the three insights are number, Amazon, and afterwards. So a number, Amazon, and afterwards. And the first insight is that every morning when I wake up, I ask Alexa, and she's probably going to say something right now for the temperature. And because I want to know one number that's going to give me insight of how I need to dress or what I need to do today, whether it's raining, if I need to wear a raincoat, if I can wear shorts. I want some information. And I do that with scores too, where I would ask, and I'm not going to say that word because Alexa's going to chirp in, and I want to know the score so I can get some insight, and I want to know some information. The second insight that we found is that I'm sure a lot of you have, and you guys can hear me, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The other insight we have is that probably a majority of you have Amazon and use reviews before you purchase something. I had a conversation with another business person, and he said that, sometimes the areas are not trusted. And so we're working on trust, but a lot of times I check a review so I can have insight about that product, about whether I should purchase it. And the other insight that we found is that there's no such rating or reviews for people, where we go on Zoom calls right now, or we might be interviewing someone, or we're looking into political candidates, and there's no information about that individual where we as a community could give input. So that's the other insight. The third insight is, I'm sorry, did I miss one? Uh-oh. Okay. The third insight is all the Amazon reviews are done after the fact. And I was on a call the other day, and I received a survey to say, how did that meeting go? And to be honest with you, I didn't know, because after I'm done with it, I'm done. And we noticed that after the fact, or a majority of the people, they rate things because either they're very happy or very upset, and it's afterwards. If you do it during, you get more information, and it's more precise, and it has more engagement. So the third insight is that as opposed to afterwards, we want to do something real time during an event. So like right now, you could be rating me, and I'm going to go through this. So basically, as I said, CEENIC is a platform where you can rate individuals in real time. And we're looking at different areas, be it politics, entrepreneurship. We have friends, and just general talks. And each one of those areas are huge. So for example, if you wanted to rate me, say you guys all are venture capitalists, and you want to rate to see how this talk is, even though it's not a pitch, it's a presentation. We have these recipes to make it easier for the individual. Now, fourth insight is that there's too many to rate someone on a scale of 1 to 5 is too small. So we want to make it easy for you. And when we reached out and did our market research, and we talked to venture capitalists and talked to investors, we said, okay, what are the areas that you're interested in when you're rating someone to put in money? So we found these 8 things, and it's competitive plan, market traction, passion, scalability, social proof, teams, the market, and value prop. So you could be potentially, if you're talking, or if you're venture capitalist and you want to rate Bill, you could say, press, the competitive plan, it's a 5 because he really didn't talk about that, or give me a 1, or his value prop is a 7, so we can give you a 7. And all those information of everyone of giving input right now be going into a number, which will be my CEENIC number. And then we have different areas, because I am concerned about the pandemic has separated us. It's made people more depressed and more anxious. So I know an individual here who is also mentoring people, and who has a good heart. So potentially that mentee could give a rating to their mentor and say, they're always available for me, I'm going to give them a 7. Or they seem like they're caring or supportive, or the way that they talk to me. And why can't that be part of you as a total person, of who you are, not just as a business person or as a mom, but also as a mentor? So that is what the CEENIC number is. So we have these unique recipes, and we have about 5 or 6 that we're ready to launch probably in about 3 or 4 weeks. And the areas that we're looking at are in politics. Like, for example, $20 billion was spent on politics last year. In meetings, in 2019, there was about $30 billion of unproductive or wastage for meetings in 2019. We think there's huge market in various applications for something like this. So basically, and as I said, and I don't know what my time is, but what we talked about, I want to give people the chance to be heard. I give them people a chance to be seen so that you can make better decisions. And it's an application in real time. And the interesting thing, or the thing that we really think is going to be the secret sauce is, for example, for entrepreneurship, what the founder says about themselves, what the team says about them, and what the community, and then historic information about certain companies that do well. We can take that information and start making predictions. We can look at the data and say, oh, this kind of company, plus what that founder said, what the team said, and what the community says, we can predict whether they're going to get funding or how successful they're going to be. It's not going to be perfect. We say, oh, maybe it's like 65% that they'll get funding, or 70 or 80% that this company could be successful based on algorithms, which is basically what I described as artificial intelligence. So I don't have no idea what my time is, but when I rehearsed it, I probably went really quick.
You went slightly over, but we can stop there and then start with questions, and then you can explain more based on the questions.
Okay,
All
so
right,
this
perfect.
this is how long did I go, by the way? I'm so sort of curious. Hello?
You went like 10 minutes.
Oh, that was 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I apologize. So so basically, here's my contact information, and I will stop sharing. How does that sound?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill. That seems very interesting. So if you have questions for Bill or suggestions or recommendations, put those in the chat box, and Angela or Amy will read those off. I'm going to start off and give you guys some time to put questions in or suggestions or ratings. And I'm going to start off the questions. So who is the target?
Initially, what we're going to be, and that's a very good question, in that when we initially did our alpha, we were really focused on evangelicals, or people very motivated in who are activists, political activists. But since we've done some research, we've actually expanded who the target market is. So it could be potentially someone like, it could be potentially individuals like you and I who just want to, I'm not only a founder, but also I do a lot of volunteer work. Individuals who, one, in politics, we're looking for activists, candidates, and campaigns. And for individuals, it might be somebody who I just want to give a little bit of shout out to an individual and make them feel good because that's who I am. It could also be, so one of the 4, or I think we have 5 areas that we're going to be doing our launch with is also the entrepreneur recipe that we gave you. So it could be entrepreneurs, politicians, people who are interested in just general talks like lectures or professors. So our first beta launch is going to be really focusing on those 4 areas, which is huge areas. I'm going to see what sticks, to be honest with you. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, and I will come back with a follow-up question. Amy, can you give us something that's in the chat box?
Yeah, sure. So Alan said that Sony is getting ready to launch Sony Immersion Studios, which will be live interactive discussion for live and recorded music performances, but not just music, but for live TED Talk type of online presentations as well. So I suppose that's something to think about.
Yep.
Mohammed says that this is pretty brilliant. And Lynn says, this is fascinating. How does this differ from LinkedIn recommendations?
Another insight that we had was that a lot of things are, the feeds on a lot of social media go away, where it's the current feed is what you see. We want something persistent where you would have a number that you could look at. It's almost like we think of it at like a batting average for a person, where that will be with them for the rest of their lives. But then you can also slice and dice it. How did they do this month? How did they do last year? And we noticed a lot of the feeds go away if it's not recent. So we wanted something persistent and consistent. And the other thing we're looking for is trustworthy. So everyone or anyone could have a CEENIC number, depending on the different aspect that we're looking for.
Okay, and Lynn
Did
also
that answer your
asked,
question? I'm a politician. I answer the question I want to answer. And I don't share my red trucks when I'm in kindergarten. No one's laughing. Uh-oh.
We're just on mute, Bill. We're laughing. Lynn, did that answer your question?
Well, Lynn also had a second question to that. Does this evaluation give specifics to help a company improve profile to increase funding opportunities?
I don't understand that question.
Lynn, would you like to come off of mute quickly?
Yes. What I'm trying to find out is if this is going to evaluate whether a company is, whether they have a chance to be funded, and evaluate how quickly they can get funded. Shouldn't, as a entrepreneur with a startup, I want to know if your tool can help me evaluate where I am right now, and then what I need to improve or shore up so that I can increase my funding opportunities when I start pitching more investors.
I think the first part right now was basically 5 stages, and I'm gonna take the long way around the barn because I'm from Texas. The first answer is what we're trying to do is the platform and the information. Second part is actually doing the analytics and the predictions. Third part is the corrective measures of which you're talking about. So that's down the road.
Okay.
And part of our business model, which I'm surprised you guys didn't ask about it, is initially we're planning to use a freemium model where putting the information, because we're part of a community and we're trying to help one another. So potentially in an anonymous way that you can give feedback to a person without hopefully hurting their feelings. And then they can get information for how to improve what they're saying or how they're saying it. That's the essence. As I was getting back to, I want to give people voice and I want to help them. And then future iterations are going to be try to do the analytics. So right now we're at phase 1. We're just trying to get something out there. But you're on step 4. You're a smart woman, obviously, but we're working on it.
Okay, and we can move on to the next question too from Vani. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Could this be used for hiring managers to rate candidates in real time during the interview process?
Absolutely. And that's what we're working on. We have 4 or 5 recipes that we've developed, one for entry level, middle managers, and senior C level. And we've noticed when we've also talked to so many, the reason this has taken so long, we've done so much research talking to human resource person, people who are doing hiring. And, I had a conversation with, I don't know if he's here, but I had a conversation with one person who's basically in that hiring space. And the reason this has taken, we've been working on this for more than 3 years, is that we've done so much research and listened, and we didn't understand what we didn't know. So to answer your question, yes. And for example, an entry-level person might be different than a middle manager who might is very important to motivate and inspire somebody, and then budgets. And then a C-suite, even more so to inspire a person. So we want to give them individuals, and then over time we can see what works or what numbers and areas are specific for that company. So say Microsoft in their let's make believe their accounting area, they might are looking for a certain type of person with a certain type of characteristics, and we want to be able to take data and help them to better get individuals, because a huge problem is getting good candidates, then getting good candidates to stay. And part of the problem is the organization doesn't know what they need, and it's very generic. So we want to make it more tailored so we can help them by using data and analytics. Did that answer the question?
She said yes. I wanted to cut in and say, I think a good connection for you would be Bentley Davis. I don't know if you know him. You know Bentley? Okay, so he's kind of in our network. Bentley Davis, he has a technical background. He's an entrepreneur. He has something called GullyBot, and GullyBot it uses technology to get a general consensus of what people are rating a certain concept or idea. It's kind of like a polling system, but in a different way. And some of what you're saying sounds a little bit similar. And I don't know if he's like further than you or behind, or you're further than him. But I think there's some synchronicity going on with both of your ideas that maybe you could possibly help each other.
Sure, I'd love that information. And I'm going to throw something in, since there's not a question, but when I had conversations with some political parties, and another challenge, and we really look at needs. They said that they want to be able to determine I happened to be talking with the Democrat. They wanted to determine the democraticness of a Democrat, where a lot of candidates, they come on and they say they're a Democrat, but they're really not. And so they wanted to have a way of measuring them. And they actually, in a recent meeting for Tarrant County, they actually put together almost like a rating for the democraticness. And I said, you know what I can do? If I can get 10 strong Democrats rating a candidate based on these different criteria, I could potentially take that data. Over time, we can determine whether and rate how democratic this person is. And then I asked the next question, which every entrepreneur should ask: are you interested, and would you pay for that? And they said, yes, yes. And then it's not just in Texas or Tarrant County, but throughout Texas, if not the country, if not other countries. Do you understand where I'm going? So there's just a tremendous amount of needs because there's not the information out there. Now, one of the biggest problems, which I'm surprised someone didn't say, or probably somebody said it and I didn't hear it, is that trust. So we have a lot of algorithms under the hood that are determining the trust, to make sure that things aren't being gamed. Because actually, one of my previous lives, I was actually working on a game, and people would try to game or circumvent what we were trying to do. So I have an understanding of what to look for, and we've thought about it, but we haven't implemented yet because there's just too many things. And just trying to get the app out is one of our challenges.
I was wondering if you could use like a dating app type of API where, you have these entrepreneurs or politicians or whatever, and you can allow the public to rate them, and you can get matched to whatever type of entrepreneur or politician you're trying to get matched to, maybe in your area or in a certain industry. And then you could see what their rating is based on people who know them. But then at the same time, it makes me wonder if people can go in, just like if someone gets canceled, for instance, if someone, let's say an entrepreneur makes some really bad comments, and then people find out who they are, and then they just go to their Yelp and they just make a whole bunch of bad comments, and it messes up their rating. Yes, so that's one thing. And the other thing is, if this type of scoring system, because I'm thinking about, how, I forgot what it's called. I'm like old, but I am. I'm older than I look. But there's this personality test. It's DISC personality test. 10 years ago, like all the offices wanted to get all of their employees on DISC. They wanted to see who would be better here and there, and they switched their whole hierarchy around because of it, right? That impacted the work culture, right? So I'm thinking of this in those terms, but could it negatively affect the
Absolutely.
work culture if people are being rated by their coworkers? Because Facebook does this. Facebook will have access to like all your old Facebook account. They will make it public for everybody that's who works there. And in some ways, people feel like they're constantly being watched by their coworkers and higher ups and getting rated on that on things that they feel like aren't applicable to their actual job.
Yes, ma'am.
So I was wondering.
I'm going to make 2 comments about that. One, and you're actually brilliant, but the second, this is our beta, and we've already done the designs for a portion to do, and this is one of our revenue streams, a matching, where I've worked with a lot of non-for-profits, and one of the issues they have is finding speakers. In some ways, it's easier now because people are more willing to do remote, but there's no rating for them or information about them as a speaker. So say if I work for the PTA, and I have worked for the PTA, and they want to get a speaker on education for gifted children. There are competition and rating. There are places, I think they call them Speaker Hub, where you can find speakers, but there's no way to rate them and no information about them. So it's almost useless. So our 2.0 has this exchange or this place to be able to find, I'm the PTA and I want to find out about gifted and talented psychologists. I could reach out to anyone potentially in the world because there's a rating and find them. And certain people might want to get paid for it. The people who don't want to get paid for it, we would do the matching, quote unquote, for free. But then other individuals want to also, in this type of gig economy, want an additional source of revenue. And you made another comment. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but so we've already done the designs for that exchange already, and we're just programming. It's the issue. So we have, to be honest with you, we're on design 1, and I don't know if you know George Lucas, when he wrote his first movie, before he started producing it and shooting it, he had written 2 and 3 already. I've already done designs for, here's another one which you guys might like. Gambling on local politics. The economics for it are incredible, and providing information to certain offshore places so that their gambling can happen. And it's not illegal, but it's not legal. And the revenue sources on that are crazy. So we've identified probably about 9 to 10 revenue sources based on this platform.
Okay, we're going to pause right there, and I wanted to just take a moment. We do have some more comments and questions in the chat box, and we're going to get to that. But I wanted to pause it and ask if anyone has any community announcements or any resources or any information pertaining to entrepreneurship or anything that you believe small business owners should know. Put that in the chat box. Any resources, events, or anything coming up. One thing I will say while people are doing that in the chat box, I'll say that if anyone is applying currently for a PPP and you have noticed that there's been a slow process to it, there's been some recent developments according to my bank. Sorry for the background noise. According to my bank, Wood Forest, there has been some red flags go up with third-party lenders. And for that reason, they have been trying to sort through investigating it further to prevent further incidents of fraud. They've already had some. And so basically a lot of people's monies have been held up with the PPP because of that. And so you could call your bank. My bank actually listed the names of third-party lenders that were being investigated. And if you want to know if the third-party lender you went through for your PPP is being investigated, you should call your bank and find out. And if you're in the process and you haven't given all of your information, I would hold off on that and then check with your bank to see when you should resume and see when it's a safe time. Let's see, Angela, is there anything in the chat box?
I have a quick comment. I remembered what you had said, and I want to make a comment and answer a question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
You was talking about the ethics and the unintended consequences. So, believe it or not, we think hard and long about what you just said, and I believe that a company is an extension of the individual. And I had a comment to somebody made a comment to me, he goes, I am so thankful that you're doing this rather than somebody else, because I know who you are as a person. And I try to be ethical. So I am very aware of those negative ramifications. And I have a responsibility so that it is used in an ethical, positive way. And it's just who I am. And two of my main jobs is my core values and who I am, and also setting up the culture to do things in a right way. So that's one issue. The other issue, somebody made a comment about evaluation and performance and something. Another item that we have under the hood is if there is some bad behavior, that we have ways of negating that bad behavior through some weighting system. And the other issue that we have, which is also under the hood, is, say, for example, if Bill Gates said that, oh yeah, this is a great idea, or Alan's idea is really great. That means a lot more than Bill saying something. So he should have more weight. So over time, you will build up your ability or your weighting based on how you've given comments or how you've rated individuals. So, and I think that over time, that will help the rating itself. So we're a learning system where over time, we're going to actually rate the raters. And some people, for example, I am the worst person for picking who's going to win an election. The worst. So my algorithm is whatever Bill says opposite. I mean, whatever he says, you should do the opposite. So over time, if we were going to be picking people who are going to be winning a race, because what I try to do I try to pick the best legislator, which isn't the best candidate, and two different things. So if I was to build an algorithm, we're going to try to figure out who's winning. If I say something and someone who might be incredibly smart, who's always top right on, say Tim, if I say opposite and Tim goes yes, that might be a good thing in the future to say, okay, this person might potentially be the winner of that election. So there's just a lot of different things. And like I said, I take the ethics and the unintended consequences incredibly seriously. I'm trying to be very thoughtful about every single thing as we've gone along. And I have conversations with psychologists. I have conversations with philosophers. I have conversation with ethics professors, data scientists all the time to make sure that this is not going to be a thing of evil. I'm serious.
Okay, well, that is very interesting. Angela, I'm going to toss it to you
Okay.
to follow up with some comments in the chat box.
Okay, wonderful. I just want to make an announcement that next week we have Nancy with the SBA who will present some new resources available for entrepreneurs. So I'll let you guys know that. Let's see. And then we also have an announcement from Alan. So there's a new book out called Entrepreneur to Millionaire by Kent Billingsley, and it has a foreword written by Mark Cuban, a must read for all entrepreneurs. Okay, and then just back to some of the comments. Thank you, Bill, for a great presentation. So Alan has, could people be planted then by a user to increase or decrease someone's performance? We saw this in the last presidential race. People planted online to make negative comments to make someone look good or bad. So basically how to, eliminate fake, reviews.
I think he touched on that one
There,
just
okay.
now.
Okay, got it.
We have these algorithms, and I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but we've noticed that there are people who have potentially game the system, and we have these 4-point algorithms very similar to what Yelp does, and I can't remember the other company that we researched. So the answer is yes, and one of them we can tell if someone's gaming the system is the frequency. On average, a person who rates only a couple times a day. So frequency is an issue. Also, we have a divergence of the range. Say, for example, if on average someone is first, and the situation about real time is that all of a sudden, if I say something, all you guys at one time could say, "Oh, I really like what he said," and press that. If there's a divergence from that range, and in some ways, what we're doing is looking very similar to what the credit cards do and the betting agencies. If there's a divergence from, say, if someone puts a $100,000 bet for someone to double fault on the third point in a tennis match, that raises red flags. So in some ways, we're using exactly the same algorithms that credit card companies and betting companies to look for someone trying to game the system. So the answer to your question is yes, and we are thinking about it. We haven't programmed it yet, but we've thought about the algorithms.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Bill. And then here's a comment from Lynn. Great point, LeBeau. This can go to the base level and doesn't evaluate how work performance, so how people's work performance is impacted by these reviews. The other thing is the creative disputes are critical to organizational advancement, but often never popular. This is an innovative solution to real need. Lynn, did you want to come off and just kind of give any type of additional thoughts on this to explain to Bill?
No, I wrote a book. I was a contributing editor to a book called Holistic Innovation, which evaluated how do you create an innovation society, and with that, how to create a sustainable, innovative environment. But unfortunately, the creative disruptives are usually the most unpopular people within an organization. And I'm concerned that those of us who are creative disruptors would be totally axed out of the system with your evaluation, where we are critical to plowing through the opposition to growth.
I think that's an excellent point. And to be honest with you, I'm actually working with a PhD, a doctor over at UT Southwestern, and I have this framework about I forgot what we were calling it, but one of the issues I do have is that people who raise concerns are often silenced, and one of the issues, and we worked on, and because I was working on this, I have a very short-term memory because I'm trying to think big, but we have this framework to try to help those individuals, and the problem is these people who are good voices and the people who are these quote unquote problems, they look the same. And we're trying to put a framework together so that managers understand how to identify the people who their voice should be heard. So I'm working, like I said, I've had conversations with a doctor at UT Southwestern about this framework. So I am very aware of that. And I, to be honest with you, I'm one of those disruptive problem people. And I want to make sure people's voices are heard. So I have that in the back of my head. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that does. But I think for companies, this is a very innovative solution, and it's excellent for especially a high level evaluation of groups and things that are coming out.
Okay, well, thank you. But I think that's maybe we should talk offline about that. So
Yes,
I'd love that, because like I said, I think a lot, and what we're doing, and actually I was starting to write a book, is that the Challenger discovery was a perfect example, and the situations with weapons of mass destructions in Iraq and the Vietnam War, where voices that should have been heard were not, they were silenced. There was an engineer, and I forgot his name off the top of my head, who said, I am not going to sign off on this because of the weather. And basically they went around him and he eventually fired, but then he realized that he was the guy who they should have been listening to. And the problem with a lot of our organizations, we don't listen to that person because we always think they're the troublemakers. And that's what we're trying to work on. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
All that stuff is in the back of my head. We're right there.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, LeBeau, there's one other comment, Elaine. Oh, you talked about the new book, Purpose on Purpose, On Purpose with Purpose, Discovering How to Live Best Life, John Ramstead, Great Stories to Help Focus Directives. Okay, good. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Lynn. I think that's everything, LeBeau.
Yeah, and since we're talking about book recommendations, I recommend the 22 Immutable Marketing Laws, really good old book by Al Reese and Jack Trout. Very disruptive marketing mindset shift in that book. Very solid, fundamental, foundational principles that every CEO should know. And they're in the Marketing Hall of Fame. So I definitely recommend that. You can find it on Audible, but you can also find it on YouTube for free, the entire book. All right. So does anyone else have any other announcements, community announcements, meetings? I have marketing gems. We've stopped going live, so everything is just on our YouTube now. But every week we post new videos where we unpack major corporations and major brands, their marketing over the years, and what we as small business owners can learn from those. We have a group called Marketing Gems on Facebook that you can join if you want to be a part of that. Angela, do you have any announcements?
No, no other announcements for me. Mother's Day is coming up, so happy early Mother's Day. I know we have a couple of weeks, but you guys be thinking about some awesome gifts for your wives and your moms.
Absolutely. And Lynn says, vote.
Vote, yes.
All right. Bill, that was a wonderful presentation.
Can
Very
I say
thorough.
one last thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if anyone, I left my contact information. If anyone wants to call me and talk, I'm more than open to comments, and I love the feedback because that's how I get better. And I just hopefully in the next, and we're having development issues. Hopefully within the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks, we'll get our beta out. And I would love feedback about that. But feel free to give me a call or talk to me, because I understand the power of this technology. I understand the potential, and also we're basically doing something, and in some ways we're trying to disrupt about 4 different industries, be it politics, because this is interesting to me. Polling costs about $15,000 or $20,000. A lot of local candidates do not have the money for that. We believe we can give them information, not polling, but give them information about how they're doing, and they crave it for 80% less and 1/5 the time, because polls take maybe 1 to 2 weeks to happen. We can give them some information, an indication of how they're doing within a day. So we believe that could be disrupted. Someone was making a comment about human resources, because as I understand, there's nothing like this, and how we're perceiving to not only gather information and use technology to analyze it. And I come from a gaming background where I used to design some games where we want to take some of that ways of looking at it and put it into this. And I'm always open to comments, and because I am not, you guys can probably tell, I'm not the smartest guy. I won't let people play with my red truck. So let me know, let me know what's going on. But thank you very much for your time.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Bill. And also thank you, Alan Brunton, for posting in the group. He said, anyone wanting to network with a national, international group, C-suite network, I can take you into a meeting with approximately 100 on Friday afternoons. Find me on LinkedIn. So perfect. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to connect with you. Awesome. Thank you again, Bill, for sharing your very disruptive idea. And I wish you all the success with that. And you're doing great work so far, so keep it up. We're interested in hearing more later on down the road. And for everyone else that has been watching, this meeting has been recorded, and we will post it on our Facebook group and in our Facebook page. So if you're not in our group, go ahead and look for us, 1 Million Cups Forward. Otherwise, you guys have a great rest of your week. See you later. See you next time. Bye.